I always have a soft spot for FD RX-7s, and this thing is no exception. First thing, of course, that I notice is it is a four-rotor, but Logan is the builder and the driver, also the wheelman, right?
Yep.
But there's something really, really special about this car. Essentially, all of us car guys have heard of this car, or heard the sound of this car.
Heard the sound of the car.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of a very interesting project that you did with this.
Yeah, you're talking about the Gran Turismo sound capture? Yeah, that was a fun experience in itself.
So tell me about that. What car did they use it for, or?
They used it for the 787B sound capture, because at the time they couldn't get the 787B to record. I think they got the actual 787 for Gran Turismo 2, but they couldn't transfer those old files over. So they, I think, were on YouTube or something, like looking up four-rotors, and they came across this and realized that the sound was pretty similar, being the same engine and everything. So they reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in doing a sound recording session, and naturally I was like, yeah, because I played Gran Turismo growing up as a kid, so I was absolutely on board for that. It was awesome.
That is so cool. So did you guys rent out a track?
No, we did it all on dyno.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a torture test because when they ran the dynos, like you couldn't have any fan noise. So we'd cool down the car and then have to turn off all the fans and then run at 500 RPM, steady state for like 30 seconds, and then 1,000, 1,500, 2,500, 3,000, all the way up, every 500 RPM, and for like 30 seconds at a time. So once you start getting to like 7, 8, 9, 9,500, for 30 seconds, no airflow at all. Like, I mean, this thing's pretty robust, but that was, man, it was hot.
That's
really
intense.
hot. Lots of fumes.
Yeah.
And I had to take multiple breaks.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because there's just no airflow or anything.
I'm surprised they couldn't do it at a track.
I don't know if they could get the right audio that they were going for. They had like probably, I think, 12 different microphones in different strategic locations to like get intake noise and exhaust noise. And on the track, you have like wind and everything to deal with. Yeah. So they're trying to get more of a sterile, I think, environment to do that.
Wow, that's cool. So what's the story behind this build?
Really, it's just like a accumulation of like a life's work. I mean, I grew up around rotaries. My dad worked on rotaries, so I knew how they worked before piston engines even worked. And over the years, just built various RX-7s. And I guess from like a challenge standpoint, I gravitated towards naturally aspirated. So I did like a kind of a toss together two-rotor, just having fun with it. And I was really impressed with how it ran and how you didn't have to worry about anything. And rotaries always have that reliability, bad rap going on. And I was like, if I could just make this bigger, take the same idea and make it bigger, then you get the same power as a turbo, but you don't have the worry or anything that's like going wrong. So I gravitated and made a three-rotor, and then naturally went to the four. So now it's just like the largest example, striving to be the most professional motorsport type race car I could get. So I always loved all the high-end real race cars, and try to get my hands on as many race parts as I can. Like this front diffuser is off of a actual Daytona prototype, like they ran in the Rolex series, 24 hours, whatever. So that front diffuser came off one of those cars, and I adapted it. And with this wider body that I made, it fit perfectly, ironically, because it's not made for this at all. But developed
so you
all
actually
that.
Built this body?
Yeah. This started as like I always liked the Aria ran GT300 RX-7.
Yes.
And it looked very similar.
I had a chance to see that run back in 2004 when they came to the US. And
that's awesome.
That was my absolute favorite car. Yeah. Best sounding car, too.
Yeah, that was like my idol. So once it went four-rotor, then I was like, the body's kind of lacking compared to the awesome sound and how it's working. So I just started laying up cardboard. And I'm not a body guy. I don't do any kind of body work at all. I mechanically could do anything. So this was just like a first attempt. But I laid out a cardboard first, and then I'm like, if it works in cardboard, I could probably make it in aluminum. And then I just slip rolled it all and welded it together and made a whole aluminum. This is all aluminum.
It looks so incredible, and also your interior is just so industrial.
That's extremely industrial.
I love that it's just this heat blanket. Yeah. Essentially.
It's all carbon, and it looked really nice, but man, the heat just barreling out of there baked it. And I'm like, well, it's getting some serious heat insulation because I raced the crap out of this thing, and it's rough. When it's like 100 degrees out, Engine doesn't care at all. Like the coolant temperature gauge, I could take a magic marker and put 180. That's how the temps stay on it. It's just always perfect. Me, however, I get blazing hot in there. So I have a cool suit, you know, with ice water running through me and everything, because it's just, there's a lot of exhaust temperature coming into the cabin. A little on the miserable side from that standpoint.
How many four-rotors are in existence in the US?
A lot more now. I put this together almost 9 years ago now, and I think I was one of the earlier ones in the States that did a four-rotor. But at this point, how many in the world? Probably at least 50, I'd say, 50 four-rotors if I had to guess. And there's more and more every year because it's like kind of catching on now, you know, like they're not as unobtainable as they used to be. But so yeah, it's definitely more popular than it was, for sure.
It's incredible. I mean, it is just, what a great build. And you drive the heck out of it. And I also love the fact that you still have a plate on it too.
Yeah, it is still street legal. And I get a lot of, like, TRC did a video on the car, and I read the comments because it's entertaining to me, and everybody's like, there's no way that car's street legal. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much true. It's not, because with this exhaust especially, this is a straight pipe version.
Yeah.
This, if you could hear it in person, it's like deafening loud. Amazing on the racetrack, but deafening loud being right next to it. And you shouldn't drive it on the street like that. But with the mufflers on it, and you know, put some tread on the tires, it's street legal. I mean, it's got turn signals and brake lights and all that stuff. It's just not very, probably only get away with it in a few states, not every state, you know.
That's super cool. I love that you push this super hard too on the track. I mean, it is a full-blown race car.
Yeah, it's a full-blown race car. Yeah, sequential transmission, and you know, the engine is stone reliable, been in there for like 8 years, but it uses all exotic parts that I could basically put any kind of trick or tip that I've had over the years of building rotaries for, like, man, I've been building them since I was like 15 years old, so it's a pretty badass power plant. It just does its job. I never have to pop the hood except to show people what it looks like.
How much power does this put down?
Well, I run in multiple classes. So with NASA, which is nice of them to have me out here at their booth today, but with the NASA class, I have to have a power to weight requirement. And so it runs 420 wheel because it weighs like 2,600 pounds, so that it meets that power to weight requirement. Unlimited is done 625 to the wheels. Which
it's incredible that you can scale it that much.
And if I told you how it's scaled, it's really simple actually, and kind of blows people's mind a little bit. But these trumpets right here that are on it, you can see how long they are.
Yeah.
That does 420. If I take these off and put on stacks that are about that long, it does 623. So it's just like that.
How is that a thing?
It just moves the peak torque. So with these long ones on here, it'll hit peak torque around about 5,500 RPM. It'll peak out and then it'll fall on its face. So you really can't rev it over 8,000 as it sits right now. It makes no power after 8. But on the short trumpets, it makes peak torque at like 7,500 RPM, almost 8,000. And so it makes peak power at 10,000 RPM. So it's a 200 horsepower difference.
Wow. What is the rev limiter on this then?
About 10,500. That's I've taken it up to 11 before, but it's very abusive at that RPM level. It's just a lot going on when you're screaming that high. On the track, it reliably can go 10,000 day in, day out, no problem at all. But 11 would be stretching it, that's for sure.
I keep saying this every single interview this whole show. I wish we were at the track and I wish I could see this run.
Yeah.
But maybe someday soon I can actually see this run.
Yeah, come out to Ohio, and once in a while I go to California.
I see. You have Auto Club Speedway on there, so you go to 7 stock.
Yep, so 7 stock, yeah. Next time I go out there, it usually does have a passenger seat. It's out of there right now, but it can't take passengers. So it's like part of the fun.
So cool. Well, thank you so much. I'm blown away. I love this. It just looks so good, so aggressive.
Oh, thanks, man.
And then the fact that it's running a four-rotor is unbelievable. Oh, and you've driven Grid Life too.
Yeah, I run Grid Life.
So are you going to try to run Grid Life this next year?
I do it every year. I don't hit that many events. Like I usually can hit Mid-Ohio and sometimes like 1 or 2 other events that Grid Life holds. I like Grid Life a lot. It's it was too, at the time when I ran NASA last year and the years before, it was too complicated to switch between like the horsepower it has now and then the unlimited trim. So I just left it at 420 wheel. And in grid life, there's no rules at all for this class, and it was rough, because you're running against cars with 1,200 horsepower.
Yeah.
So I literally have like 1/3 the horsepower and getting pretty decent lap times out of it. But next year, I definitely plan to go back with like full power and have a much better shot.
Well, we can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
So, see you guys in the next one. Here we are at the CSF booth.
We are here, PRI 2021.
Yeah, with my buddy Ravi. So, the last time we did a show together, we actually went to the middle of the desert. It was 108 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay. But my favorite part about that whole shoot is that after we did it in the desert, and it looked so crazy that so many people called me out for it being fake and photoshopped.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, when we did the Evo, and that was a pretty innovative import at the time. And I remember, it was for Super Street, and you, Sam, at the time said, hey, listen, I want to put it on the cover. You got to get with Larry. I want something wild. You didn't even send me a location, you sent me the coordinates. I'm like, where are we going, right? And like, all my guys were like, where are we going? And they're like, oh shit, we're going to like the sand dunes, we're going to Glamis. We get there, it's like 108, 110 degrees. And I was like, oh my God, it's so hot right now. But I felt like I was on Mars. Like just like the sand and the dunes, and it was so untouched, it was wild.
So the reason why people called us out, they thought it was fake, is because the sand was blown over the road.
Yeah.
They're like, no, that looks fake, completely.
Yeah.
But it wasn't fake. But enough of that, let's talk about this Supra in your booth here at PRI. This is a Titan Motorsports car, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Titan Motorsports, like MK5, pretty much like their demo drag race car, right? Like this is what they're using as basically their business card for what they can do for the platform. And Titan Motorsports is a legacy Supra name, obviously from the MK4 days. They're still racing their Pro Comp car, but this is their latest and greatest in terms of the MK5 platform. And they're really pushing that B58 engine, which is turning out to be like an amazing engine. Obviously it's BMW, but every guy wants a Supra, and this is what you can do to it. So it's got a 3.2 liter stroker motor. This car runs 8.9 in the quarter mile, and it's a street car.
Wait a minute, and it has a stock transmission.
Built transmission, but like just upgraded clutch.
Right.
Next season, they're gonna go for a built transmission. So like kind of beef it out a little bit more. It's got upgraded turbo kit, port injection, nitrous, 2 new seats in it, but besides that, it's got like full interior AC, and it's pretty wild. I mean, if you took obviously if you took the drag radials off it and took the stickers off, it would be a street car. And you'd be getting blown away.
This is the crazy thing, and this is not a wide body either. This is stock body.
Stock body.
And the fact that it doesn't rub here either blows my mind. My car, it's completely gone here.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, from road racing. When I'm hopping curbs and stuff, I'm really compressing the wheel and tire combo. But with that said, I don't know if Toyota or any of the Mark V designers intended for this to be a drag car.
No, and you know what? Like I think just because it's a Supra and everyone was so jacked up on the car coming to market that people were just like, I'm gonna take it and do whatever we can do it, right? And because it's also a BMW underpinnings, the ability to progress with the tuning and the technology was there, right? Because BMW tuning technology, the ECU tech, is so developed that they were able to just throw it into the B58 engine and go with it. The problem right now is you can't do the 2021 cars. You can only do the 2020 cars because the new Bosch ECU is almost uncrackable. So right now, if you're trying to tune a 2021 car, you have to send your ECU to one guy in Russia.
Wow.
You have to buy a spare ECU. You basically clone it, send it to a guy in Russia. He needs 2 or 3 weeks with it, and then sends it back, and then you can finally tune your new car. But I feel like that's probably around the corner for people to start to tune them. And once that happens, the market's going to explode even further because they're literally tuning 1 year of a car.
It's kind of interesting also because this is a car that a lot of people slept on at first. Maybe the looks or the fact that it is BMW made. So much of it was overlooked right off the bat. But now it's really come around once the aftermarket has got their hands on it.
Yeah, and you know, like I was actually talking to a couple racers here who do, like they have an actual A90 class for all these drag races at Florida 2K, Texas 2K, A90 shootout races, there's like 8 in the year. You need competition. You need guys pushing each other for the platform to develop, right? Like he wins a race, next guy comes in, he wins a race. You have to keep building that car. So I feel like that's something that's missed on in a lot of platforms. If one guy's doing it, it's cool. But you need like 4 or 5 guys doing it to really start to develop the market. And I think the Supra, because it's also a BMW, because there's so much aftermarket support, it's gotten into a lot of different types of motorsports. We're doing guys with endurance racing, guys who are doing, you know, time attack stuff, drag racing, the street guys. So there's all these different facets of motorsports that this car's really, you know, jumped into it, and it's pretty awesome.
I gotta say, I've never really seen that many BMWs being drag raced though. Have you seen?
No, and it's funny because like this car is essentially like a, you know, like a 340 or 440i engine, and you don't see the BMW guys. Guys just wanted a Supra. They always remember the MK4. Now the MK5's out there. There's a lot of, you know, not just the engine development, but, you know, like aesthetics, body mods. Like, I mean, there's guys who are doing wide bodies. Guys are doing all the Japanese kits. I mean, everybody's just, there's something for everybody when it comes to the supermarket. So
can we talk about the piece that you guys contributed to this build?
Yeah, absolutely. So this car actually has a 6-piece CSF cooling kit. So we have an upgraded radiator. There's 2 auxiliary radiators, heat exchangers underneath the headlights. There's a transmission cooler, and there's a front mount heat exchanger that cools the water that runs into our halo piece, which is the intake manifold. This intake manifold is kind of like your gateway drug for the platform because it has the option to do port injection, and it has an option to do nitrous. And the nitrous is a big deal because a lot of guys started to do that with the car, but the OEM manifold is plastic. And they would have a single fogger because you have to like drill into it. And what happened was they were blowing their engines because you're not having equal distribution through every cylinder. You know, some cylinder would get more nitrous than the other, and these guys were blowing engines literally every race. There'd be like 4 or 5 racers blowing an engine. So this has individual nitrous control per cylinder, you know, lower pressure drop, lower intake air temps, and this is really what you need if you're trying to push into the 600 horsepower plus. The car is notorious for going into lit mode, especially for the track guys. The guys do 2 or 3 laps, even like you were telling me, your car's overheating, and you know, you need this because this really fixes all your problems. So you're able to not just get lower, you know, temperatures with better cooling. It gives you all this, you know, forward-thinking adjustability for like how much do you want to build your car. This thing is good for like 1,200 horsepower. So, you know, we have guys like Ecanu Racing's bought like 3 of them. You know, Titan Motorsports is selling a bunch of them. In 3 months, we've sold 150 of these manifolds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So, you know.
But this is relatively new for you guys to get into, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've never made an intake manifold before, but, you know, we're all about cooling. We're hyper-focused as a cooling manufacturer, and, you know, it's got a built-in air-to-water intercooler brick in there. So this actually pushed us to be like, okay, we're going to make something we've never made before. It's a full billet piece. You know, that's also something that I was like, wow, okay, how are we going to manufacture this? It comes with a 40-piece hardware kit. It's very modular. So we set up an assembly line in our warehouse to be able to put this together and really make it so a DIY guy, which is a really big part of the supermarket, can install this themselves in their garage.
So this is an 8-second car. How much power does this put down in this configuration?
Almost 1,000.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Almost 1,000.
It just doesn't. I mean, it doesn't look like it. That's the crazy part. Is it's still narrow body. I feel like I've never seen such a crazy Mark V Supra that's so subtle. I mean, I guess it's not so subtle with the graphics now and the drag radials, but that's incredible.
Yeah,
really
and
cool.
you know, that's just the 2020, 2021 configuration. He's changing the setup for next year. They're gonna go top mount turbo kit. And yeah, it's going to be pretty wild to see what this car can do. And I asked Otto, the guy who built the car for Titan Motorsports, he also races the car. I said, what are you trying to hit next year? He's like 8.4. Wow. So you're going to go from 8.9 to 8.4. And you know, like I feel like this is like the new GTR, right? The GTR was such a like a powerhouse platform. It's still around. And you know, guys are going into the 6s and like after going into the 7s, like this car eventually is going to be a 7-second car. And that's crazy, right? You're buying a $50,000 to $60,000 car. You're putting, you know, 50 grand in mods into it, and to get to that level, it's pretty wild.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for showing it to us. Unfortunately, we're not at a racetrack and can't see it doing burnouts and stuff, but maybe one day.
We'll get it out there. Actually, I would love to get this on This Versus That. I think that would be awesome. You know, get this out to California.
Well, you already had a car on This Versus That.
I did, and I lost.
So hopefully next time.
I lost it at GTR.
Hopefully next time you can bring one and you can win.
Yeah, absolutely. So Larry, thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure working with you. So we're enjoying ourselves here at PRI 2021.
All right, we're at the Supertech booth. There is an awesome Toyota Supra here, built by Norris. Tell us a little bit about this build.
It's a 2020 body. We picked up the body from a salvage yard. It was kind of too hard to be true. It had a little bit of damages, but I was looking at it, it's like, it can't be that bad. You know, we replaced the quarter panels and the roof, and boom, we have a rolling chassis, right? I've been working on it for about a year now. It utilizes the original B58 engine that comes out of the current Supra right now. A lot of people ask, why not the TJZ, right? Well, it's 30 years old. We want to choose something that we can progress, advance. For example, Supertech, we want to build engine parts for it. BC, want to build engine parts for it. So we want to use something modern so the people in the next 10, 20 years can be like, hey, there's something new out there besides the 2JZ.
Yeah, because potentially this could replace the 2J.
Could be.
In that, you know, maybe this will be one that
my potential goal is to run a Supra with the 2JZ when we're done. So
run
old school versus new school. Supra, old school Supra with a 2JZ.
Right.
New school Supra with a B58. When we're done, when we're ready. When we're ready.
So then you've actually done some stuff with our buddy, Steph Papadakis, too, to help develop this engine, right? Because he's also really taken the forefront to develop the B58 for drifting.
Yep. Yeah, Steph and I go way back from the NHRA days, you know, back in the days when he used to drive Hondas. I'm originally a Honda guy also. I'm still in the Honda scene. When the Supra came out a couple years ago, we wanted to jump into some new platform that we can apply our knowledge to it. We do have a street car version of this car. It makes about 1,000 horsepower, runs 850s in a quarter mile. I've always been a drag person, so my roots are still drag. It's always going to be drag, and this is why we wanted to build a drag 2020 Supra.
So what's the goal for this? I love that you casually say your street Supra is 1,000 horsepower. What's the goal for this?
You know, our street Supra just hit 1,000 a couple months ago. This one right here, in order to play with the 2JZ boys, we got to hit 2,000. We're going to see how much a factory block can hold. I'm thinking 1,500 horsepower. After that, we'll probably have to go build it.
2,000 horsepower. Well, then what's your ET goal?
2,000 horsepower at the weight limits that we're going to be in the 6-second zone. It's still a unibody car. We use a drive shaft shop, 9-inch rear end. Interior is still a little bit under construction. We're still going to be welding and stuff like that, so I didn't want to paint too much on the inside. Just everything was concentrated on the front. Most people come to the show, they like to see everything in the front anyways.
And a lot of this is, you've changed to carbon panels too, huh?
Yeah, the doors are carbon, the roof is carbon, the trunk's carbon, the hood's carbon, but the body's still a metal body.
It's really interesting how this has come around, and I've said this to a couple other Supra owners also. The platform was unloved right off the bat, right? But it's really come around, especially for drag racing. What's the reason?
Okay, so like any other sport, when we have competitors pushing each other to go faster and faster and faster, that's what makes it all fun, right? I love competition. Competition drives me and motivates me to put time and effort into the engine program in the car. You know, think about it. The car's only been out 2 years. It went from running 12 stock to running mid-8s now, you know? That's 4 seconds faster. Will we go 7s? Probably, in a street car. So that's why I wanted to build a pro car so we could take that to the next level.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this at the track. This is gonna be pretty incredible. And on top of that, the best part is, so are you gonna wide body this? Is this gonna be wide body?
No, we designed the chassis where we don't have to wide body it. A big tire can fit under the factory fenders.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, Supertech booth. This Supra is super cool. I love it. Love it so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.